This conference will now be recorded.
Great. So I'd like to start by welcoming everybody and thanking you for joining the ASIF member webinar. It's great to see so many of you here today. Just a couple of housekeeping rules. If you can mute yourself, I think most people have already during the session. Please do say hello in the chat, state your name and where you're from. And if we have any problems with connection, we might just ask people to turn their cameras off to help with that. But otherwise, you're welcome to keep it on if you don't mind being on the recording. Following the two presentations, we'll have an opportunity for questions and discussions. Please feel free to ask them verbally or pop them into the chat, completely up to you. You don't have to wait until the end to write them into the chat. Feel free to write them in as those presentations are taking place. So, sorry, let me just get to my other screen. So I'd like to start by welcoming Liz Marshall and Sean Ewert, who have come to join us and share their knowledge and experience in community fundraising, or direct fundraising as it's often known, with you today. Liz is the head of marketing, communications and fundraising at NASS in the UK. She has 20 years experience in marketing and communications and loves storytelling and the power it has to connect with audiences, drive change and create awareness. She also describes herself as a not-so-secret digital geek and fundraiser too. And Liz is going to talk to us about how NASS uses Walk Your AS Off as a fundraising opportunity. So welcome, Liz. I'll let you share your screen and
okay.
I'll leave you to...
Thanks, Jo. My screen's not sharing.
Okay. I'm not sure why. Sorry, apologies. Is there something? What are you getting, an error message or?
No, the button's grayed out, and I'm getting a message saying to share your screen. Ask the organizer to make you a presenter.
Oh, bear with me. Sorry, I thought it was going to just allow you to do that, but there you go. Apologies.
Okay, great. There you go. Thank you. Right. Can everybody see my presentation?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great. That's brilliant. So I'm going to talk about the work we do to use Walk Your AS Off to fundraise. And I think I'll start off by saying it's not just about fundraising for us. We love Walk Your AS Off every year. In the UK, it's like many of you, it's spring and people are just starting to get out and about from after winter. And it's got a great community feel. And we really try and through May, we really try and kind of build on that community feel and get everybody sharing their stories, registering their steps, and kind of really building a sense of creating a Walk Your AS Off team. And sorry, I'm so sorry. Really kind of create a sense of team spirit, and I actually think that's one of the reasons it does really well. People join year on year and are really excited to join as well. So one of the reasons it works so well is we've actually got 3 teams in the UK. But we've got Gillian and Cassie, who both run teams, and we work with them to run teams with us, and they're the power behind both of those teams. Gillian in particular is, if any of you know her, is really good at recruiting people and getting people involved, and she runs her own Facebook group, and she really, and both of them really encourage people to fundraise for us. We also have a pause team. So we'd noticed the first year I did this, we noticed that lots of people were walking with dogs. So we created a pause team for dog lovers, and it was actually in memory of Gillian's dog that passed away. But now we get cats, we've had sheep join the paws team, we've had all sorts of animals. So the paws team is just another really kind of fun element, and people really seem to like the paws team as well. It's a slightly unofficial team, but yeah, people love to get their animals involved. So that's just a picture of a few of the dogs that joined in last year. Yeah, so what I would say is we do put quite a lot of marketing behind this. So to recruit people, we do a huge amount of social media advertising. So on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Twitter as well, although we're withdrawing from Twitter a bit at the moment because of the ethical problems in Elon Musk, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. We've got around 40,000 social media followers. We obviously have to put a little bit of paid activity behind the social media campaign to reach a bigger group of those followers, or social media algorithms mean that you only that's my digital geek coming out, or you don't reach enough of your audience to make a difference. So if you can think about finding budgets to boost your social media promotion, even, well, in the UK, even £50 can make a huge amount of difference to the number of people you reach. But you can also use hashtags and tag people in, and there's lots of other ways to maximize your reach on social media. We're really lucky because we've built up our email subscriber list, and we've now got about 8,500 people that we can email. So we send out recruitment emails as well, and we share messages in private groups too. So I talked about the Orange and Apples group and the AS group, and the dogs don't have a group yet, but I feel that they should. And Kathy and Gillian do a really good job of kind of spreading the word and encouraging people to fundraise for us. So we're going to start the marketing for Walk Your AS off next week. We typically have a 6-week recruitment period, and yeah, so there's a huge amount of activity. So last year, and we do it in 3 phases, so it's kind of a 3-phase recruitment campaign. So the first phase is really just asking people to sign up and joining our team. The second phase is, and we'll start this in mid-April, is to get people sharing blogs, sharing their stories, sharing their pictures, talking about why they're joining the team, and that can make a huge difference in encouraging others to join the team as well. And towards the end of April, we move to a different phase, which is really sending out good luck messages and really to everybody involved, and really kind of cheerleading them and encouraging them to do things, to join in and record their steps, do what people can in throughout May. And we are quite careful with our messaging. So we talk a lot about set your own challenge, do what you can. If you do 50 steps a day, that's great. If you want to, if you decide, if you're crazy and decide you want to run a marathon, that's great as well. But it's all about joining in and joining in your own way. And we're always encouraging people to record their steps as well. So stewardship is the other thing that's really important. So everybody who signs up to fundraise gets a welcome email, and it includes information about the teams. It includes information about how to register on the Walkers One website, so people can join a team and record their steps. We're changing this slightly this year. So we used to give everybody who joined in a t-shirt, but 120 people signed up last year, so that's quite a lot of t-shirts we have to pay for. So now we're saying to everybody, if you commit to raising £20, we'll send you a NASS t-shirt. And if you raise £50 and you're walking with and you want to join the paws team, we'll send you a dog bandana that, as I said, can also be worn by all sorts of different animals. They're often worn by cats as well. And what's really nice about the t-shirts is and bandanas is we get loads of lovely pictures back, as you can see, with people with kind of NASS in bright orange NASS t-shirts with really distinct branding, and that helps build a sense of the team as well. And throughout May, we're promoting the sense for team spirit by sharing pictures and sharing stories. We really encourage people to share pictures of themselves as they're out and about walking and taking on their challenge. And we really encourage people to share to wear the NASS t-shirt while they're out and about, which kind of creates awareness. And we've heard, we've definitely had people saying that they'll see others out walking and they'll stop and have a conversation with them about their t-shirts. And we've got some quite distinct slogans on our t-shirts as well. So we've got one of our slogans is Axial spine, not just a pain in the back. So they're slogans that will really start a conversation. And at the end, everyone who takes part gets a thank you certificate and that recognition is really important. It really helps create loyalty throughout the year. So in terms of we also give people the tools they need to fundraise. So we'll set up a campaign on Just Giving, and we encourage people to set their own Just Giving campaign up and associate it with ours, and that means those that don't want to donate to them can do that online, and it makes it really easy for people to donate. We do still give people old-fashioned sponsorship forms if they want, but people definitely tend to prefer to give online now, and it makes it so much easier. So as I say, we just make it as easy as possible to fundraise. So in terms of results, last year I think we had 120 people sign up, and we raised £10,000. Sorry, I'm not sure what that is in your local currencies. In the year before, we raised much more. I think we raised about 18,000, but that was simply because we had one fundraiser who did astonishingly well. He raised £18,000 for us. So and as I said, with those ingredients, with really strong marketing, lots of tactics and techniques to create this team spirit, with the contribution Gillian and Kathy make, and with stewardship as well, I think it turns it into a really strong fundraising campaign, as well as a really strong awareness campaign. Jo, am I taking questions now?
Sorry, I think we'll wait until the end, if that's okay, because I think the questions will possibly be for both of you, of the speakers. So thank you so much, Liz. That was really interesting, and I do think there'll be quite a lot of questions for you after Sean's presentation. Really appreciate you taking the time to put that together and share those experiences.
Right, do I stop sharing? I've stopped sharing.
Yep, you stop sharing.
Okay.
And then Sean, I'll give you the permission to share.
Oh, I'm just going to chat.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, no worries at all.
Old school.
Fabulous. Well, so Sean, I'd like to introduce you to start off with. Sean is a non-profit professional based in Los Angeles, California. He worked for many years in Chicago at a foundation that raises money to support Children's Hospital. 6 years ago, Sean relocated back to LA and began working at Spondylitis Association of America in their engagement department, bringing his operation and volunteer management skills to the team. He's also an accomplished storyteller, writing and performing his stories in the LA area. Most recently, he's been managing an SAA virtual quarterly presentation that highlights spondylitis patients and their journeys with guests from around the world. And today's presentation from the SAA is called "They May Not Be Active Donors, but They Are Still Engaged." So welcome, Sean.
Thank you. All right. Well, hello, ASIF members. It's such a pleasure to be here today. I'm excited to talk to you about one of my favorite nonprofits, the Spondylitis Association of America. And a little background for those of you who might not know. The Spondylitis Association of America was co-founded 40 years ago by Jane Brickell. In 1983, when Jane co-founded this organization, there was no information available about AS, not a single pamphlet, and incredibly no information anywhere. Just a very few doctors who were even interested in the disease. She literally started this organization around her kitchen table, and the Spondylitis Support Group was born. We haven't looked back since. So as Joe said, my name is Sean Ewert. I'm the Director of Member Engagement, and as you can imagine, I wear many hats. Engagement can take many forms, and you have to be ready for anything. There are so many different formats that a nonprofit can take, and each one has its merits, pros, and cons. So SAA operates on a membership model. And in fact, we've been a membership organization since our inception in 1983. While we also accept funding from corporate partners and foundations, donations from individuals have always been the lifeblood of our existence, and we'd be nowhere without our members. Now, if a membership model is something your organization has embraced or you might want to consider, I can tell you a little bit about how ours is set up. So SAA's membership program is structured a bit differently from a lot of other nonprofits. Many rely on a tiered structure whereby increasing dollar amounts will return greater benefits, such as exclusive access to information, premiums such as books and videos and the like, or invitations to events or preferred access to experts in the field. For example, for $25, a donor gets a magazine. For $50, they get the magazine and a book. And for $100, they would also get to have invitations to special events or receptions. Now, we've shied away from this approach. For one thing, we will never charge for educational information that is geared to help a person navigate living with spondyloarthritis. No one needs to join the organization or support us in any way to avail themselves of the resources that we have to offer. We also believe that donors that come in through an offer of a premium tend to sort of drift away after they've collected all the items that interest them. Our mission is to serve everyone affected by this disease, and we do it regardless of anyone's ability, inclination, or to support us financially. Now, that said, we have to keep the lights on, right? So, of course, we want to encourage people to support us financially. Over the years, we've found that the key to that is three things: empathy, caring, and a true commitment to excellent customer service, rather than material offerings that may only appeal to a select few. Our staff is not large, but we do have the benefit of having a dedicated group of people who can answer the phone during working hours and respond in real time to phone calls. So if someone calls after hours and leaves a voicemail, their call is returned the next business day. And sometimes, this just happened to me last weekend, if it happens during the weekend and it's deemed urgent, we get back to them too. Now, email inquiries, we get a lot of them, and they're returned just as quickly. And everyone, member or not, it's personalized and tailored to the writer. We try to pull out all the stops and provide as many resources as we can to help get the right information where it needs to go. Now, we often get feedback on our service. And for example, a patient recently emailed me to say, I love this, thank you for your effort. It was the only time I received emotional support. Now, I make it a point to share uplifting messages in quotes with the entire staff to let them know that our seemingly daily road work is not in vain. And what we found over the years is that this approach of great customer service compels the people that we've helped to then join the organization. I've even offered a complimentary trial membership for a year, which results in a much larger renewal gift when the trial ends, because what, right? The mission. So I serve them no matter what. And they often say, oh, thank you so much. I'm now paying this forward. And they do, with a larger renewal gift, or even better sometimes, good word of mouth. Now, I understand that other organizations may not have the benefit of paid staff and dedicated time to respond the way we can. But I would still recommend that an effort be made to respond as quickly and extensively as possible to encourage those reaching out to engage within your group. I've also experienced an amazing halo effect here at SAA. Now, even though our membership fee is low, I feel it's still enough to keep both the member and the nonprofit accountable together. Our mission is now their mission too. And there's like a handshake, an agreement, if you will, between the two. I work with members and volunteers who have been with SAA for many years. And even if their membership is delinquent or erratic, they still say that they're a member of SAA. They still feel backed by our logo. And to me, that's worth more than $35 a year, whether they're a current member or not. And we're able to do this as well with patients who never join SAA at all. We don't always get the information back in the same way, but they still feel part of the larger spondyloarthritis movement. As I mentioned, we also keep our membership fee low, although many give way more than that. I mean, they may not get more perks, but they have the knowledge that their donation is being used to advance the mission to make life better for future generations. In fact, the perks we offer are few. And as I've said, we don't charge for information that would be, contrary to our mission. The main tangible benefit to SAA membership is our quarterly news magazine, Spondylitis Plus. Members within the US receive this in the mail and have access to the full archive on the website. Non-members, though, can still access this through the current year's issues online, and no new medical or research information is ever paywalled. We're very passionate about that. And just a reminder that as ASIF members, all of you have access to SAA's printed and electronic materials. And if anyone would like some of our brochures or other publications, just let us know and we're happy to provide them. Now, I'm not sure how many of your organizations have a membership program, but if any of you do or are interested in starting one and want to learn more about how SAA handles our renewal program, annual appeals, or planned giving, please reach out and we're more than happy to talk about it. For now, I think the best thing I can tell you is that looking for members or looking for donors will never work as well as looking for people to help. And if you help them, many of them will respond in kind. In a word, you need to build a community. And one of the ways we do this is through social media. If someone follows you, follow them back, like their posts, comment on them. I love this one. Wish them a happy birthday. I just did this yesterday. Engage them where they are. Include links to bring them to your website if appropriate. People want to engage if they feel that they're welcome. If you cast a wide net and make sure everyone knows that your organization welcomes every person who has a need of your expertise, they will remember that. And many will engage with you in ways that will serve your organization as well. We believe that engagement is key. So much so that the department I work in just changed its name not too long ago from development, which invokes asking for money, to member engagement, because we believe that the ask can't happen until you give them a reason to give. Everything you do must go toward building your case for support. But of course, the ask does need to happen at some point. Even many seasoned fundraisers feel uncomfortable asking for money, but they shouldn't. The people interacting with your group understand that they're dealing with a nonprofit or volunteer organization and expect to be asked to support those efforts financially. Every representative of your group should become comfortable making gentle pitches for support. Not everyone will be successful. Some people may not have the means, others may simply not be ready yet. If a call for financial support doesn't hit its target, be ready to follow up with another engagement opportunity. Perhaps they might be interested in getting the word out through social media or sharing their story on your website or volunteering a few hours in the office. Practice your elevator speech. Every staff member or volunteer should have a 2- and 5-minute narrative ready when someone asks them, where do you work? What do you do? You never know when or where you'll meet someone who might be able to contribute in some way, and you probably won't even have a lot of time to engagement. So everyone needs to be the face of the organization. Volunteer fundraising is also proven to be very successful for SAA and typically takes a little bit of effort on our part. If someone is running a race or participating in a walk, suggest that they could use the event to raise money for your cause. Or someone may choose to dedicate their milestone event, such as a wedding or a birthday, to support your organization and ask for gifts on your behalf. Now, a little tip, I've been deeply involved in our volunteer fundraising program since I started at SAA, and this may not be everyone's cup of tea, but I have welcomed our volunteers to text me on my personal phone and connect and say hi. Again, it's worked well for me in managing our volunteers. I realize this might not be for everybody, but I truly have heard back from volunteers much more quickly when I have a more impersonal way of chatting with them. Email marketing is essential these days and thankfully relatively inexpensive. And for this reason, it's crucial to capture contact information whenever you can. Your supporter database, whether it's fully functional, a fancy program, or a simple Excel spreadsheet, is the most valuable asset your organization has. Keeping it clean and up to date is essential. Now, let me repeat that. Your supporter database is the most valuable asset your organization has. We're so passionate about that. Emails can be used to ask people to donate, but it also can be used to let folks know what the organization is working on, what your goals are, and how they can help. There are many ways to move people from the contact column to the donor column. And the best way to employ as many of them as you can, since different people will respond, is through different approaches. Now, if you have individual donors, don't make the mistake of focusing your attention on the most lucrative ones at the expense of the smaller givers. The 3 largest gifts SAA has received over 40 years came from people who had never donated before. Never assume. There's an old story that's known to many fundraisers, and it's not true, but it has many lessons to teach. It's known as the lady in the gingham dress. I'll paraphrase it and I'll shorten it. So an older lady in a faded gingham dress and her husband and his well-worn, often patched suit arrives at the office of the president of Harvard back in the 1800s. His secretary refuses to admit them, but they're determined to wait. After waiting all day, the secretary implored her boss to give them a few minutes, if only to make them go away. He finally agreed, and the old couple explained that their son had attended the school for a year before being killed in the war, and they wanted to donate a building in his honor. And the president looks at their threadbare clothes and laughs. He says, "Oh, a building? Do you have any earthly idea how much a building costs? We have over $7.5 million in physical buildings here at Harvard." And the old couple looks at each other and they say, "That's all it costs to start a university?" And so Mr. and Mrs. Stanford went back to Palo Alto and did just that. I love that story. And as I said, it's not true. But the lesson is that no fundraiser should ever forget. You cannot know who might turn out to be your major donor. Treat every inquiry as if it's the lady in the gingham dress. You know, it just might be. So sometimes it may seem like the struggle between working the mission and keeping the lights on is the big problem, right? But the truth is one feeds the other, and you can't do just one. And as Cassie Schaefer, SAA CEO, likes to say, no mission, no money, no money, no mission. Figuring out that balance is the line we all need to walk. And whether you call them donors, members, supporters, constituents, contacts, these people are your greatest asset in both. Get them on board with your mission. Make sure they feel that it's their mission as well, and they will help you raise the money to achieve your shared goals. But don't forget to make the ask once the engagement has been achieved. Fundraising is both art and science, but the one absolute is if you don't ask, you won't get. I hope this has been helpful and that everyone got at least one thing out of it and they can use it to help their fundraising journey a little easier, a little more lucrative. It has been a pleasure sharing my passion for nonprofit work with you today. I love watching a new volunteer or a member of SAA become excited about engaging with us more deeply. Over the past year and a half, I've been managing the SAA Storyteller program, and many who participated in the project said it was therapeutic just working with me in creating their story for broadcast. So even if no one had ever viewed their story, I know that they were already benefiting from SAA's mission of healing and goodwill by engaging with me. But thankfully, it's so much more than that. So thanks for having me, and thanks for listening. We also have a link to a book at Amazon that's got great engagement ideas. It's called 199 Ideas, Member Service and Engagement. It's an ebook, so everyone can get it quickly. There's literally so many things you can use, and I've used like half the things in the book. So thanks so much for your time. It's really been a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you so much, Sean. Really appreciate that that insight into the world of SAA's fundraising and the way that you do work so closely with your members and the importance of supporting them. That was really interesting. Thank you. I'd like to now open it up for questions. People can either pop a question in the chat or just unmute yourself and ask a question. And those questions can be for Liz on their experience with Walk Your AS Off and fundraising, or for Sean, or for both. So if anyone has any questions. I have a question. Oh, sorry.
You go first, Jo.
Thank you. Actually, we have a question for Liz, just on the Walk Your AS Off. You talked briefly about sort of the way that people fundraise online. How do you have a sort of a fundraising page on your website? How do you facilitate that?
So we set up a campaign on Just Giving, and so I don't know if people are familiar with. I don't know if it's Just Giving used outside the UK.
I think there are different versions in different countries.
Yeah. So it's a platform designed specifically for fundraising. We don't set it up on our website just because our website is a little bit old and it doesn't do the best job at supporting fundraising. So we use Just Giving, and we set up a campaign on Just Giving. So everybody who volunteers to fundraise for us, we encourage them to set up an associated campaign on Just Giving, and it means that they've got a link that they can share with their family, so they can add their own story, and telling compelling stories about the reason you're fundraising can really help motivate donors. So so we give them guidance on how to tell their story on their own Just Giving campaign. They associate it with ours. And then everybody that means everybody who's registered on Just Giving has a link that they can share in their social media. They can share it with family and friends in emails, and it just makes it really easy for their donors to donate online. And in terms of us getting the income, it's then an automatic process, so we don't have to collect that income. We just get it. We get it every few weeks straight from Just Giving. And I don't know if other countries have gift aid. So gift aid is quite important to us and can increase the donation by and can increase the donation by about 25%. So you can sign up for gift aid on Just Giving as well. And yeah, no, Sean is right. So we try and speak to as many people as we can. So having that personal contact is really important.
Thanks, Liz. That makes sense. And I think it's interesting, I would imagine, for some of the other organizations who may be in a similar situation where their website, it's not that easy to set up a donation page on the website for that. So to use a third party like Just Giving, or Everyday Hero used to be one in Australia, or I'm sure there's lots of different organizations like that around the world that potentially could be used by our different members.
Yeah, so we've done the same with cash donations. So there's a donate button on our website, and that now links to Just Giving. But you would if you're a donor, you'd barely notice that you're going from the NASS website to the Just Giving website. It's that, you know, Just Giving has built-in payment mechanisms already that work really well, and you can give a gift on your phone in minutes, in less than a minute, which you definitely can't do on our website. You have to fill in a really long form.
Yes, that's great, thank you. Can I write any other questions?
So I had a question for Sean, but actually Liz just touched on it a little bit as well, so maybe Liz can answer as well. You and actually Sean, it's directly related to the answer that you just gave to Annie in the chat. So you talk about having a front desk, and you talk about trying to give as personal a service as possible and really support people, especially with maybe some of those more emotional burdens. What I have to admit to knowing, I don't know how many staff the SAA has. And what do you find that you need a certain number of staff? So you talk about a front desk. I'm not sure whether I'm picturing a call centre of 60 people or a small team of 4 or 5, because obviously you have quite a large membership and cover a huge geographical area.
It's so funny you should say that, because people often think we're this huge organization with like 100 people or more manning the phones. We actually have 4 people, I'm one of them, that the phone calls route through. So, and we have a front desk person who's there a lot. And then if he's away, it sort of bounces around to the other 3 people on the team. So it is always caught somewhere. You can do it without having a zillion people. And he routes a lot of voicemails, and he will convert a lot of the inquiries into emails, because we're all remote. And there's only about 14 of us on staff. So it can be done. You just have to have a procedure. I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, yeah, it's I had envisioned many more people. So it is, because I was thinking as well, obviously some of our members are very small organisations, and it's really, that's the reason I was asking it, really, because I know both NASS and SAA are probably some of our more established members. So it was just, yeah, really interesting to hear that actually with quite a small number of people you can provide that kind of service.
And Joe, I think the key to that too, and this is a credit to our front desk person, it's getting them off his plate as quickly as possible. So he's just routing stuff like crazy. He doesn't sit on them too long, because if he does, it's like what you said, he'll get too backlogged, so he gets them out quickly.
Right, thank you.
Joe, this is Cassie. I just wanted to add that SAA hasn't always been that large, as you can imagine. Diane Peterson she's one of the staff that's been around the longest, almost 20 years with us. And she could, talk to the kind of the early days of SAA. But we had, I think, 7 staff when I started 5 years ago. And we've just really been able to grow our income with all the programming that we've done. So we've been able to also grow our staff.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Cassie. Interesting.
Hi. Can I just point out something? Hi, I'm Nadia from Greece. Good evening to everyone. I just, maybe the difference is with some organizations like ours in Greece is that we only have like 2 paid staff, and the rest of us are on a volunteer basis, which translates that we do have jobs like other occupations, and we do volunteer the rest of our lives and hours of the day to the organization to support our members and do it to the best of our abilities, which that automatically translates to many hours and dedication. But this actually covers the needs, but it translates to people like us and Katie that is in the call also, us over like burden ourselves and overworking ourselves to manage and to like actually cover the needs. And this gets us back to the question that we have to have more paid staff, which actually cannot be covered from the income from the membership, and we need to have more fundraising, and we need to have more income, and we're like, this is like a vicious cycle for us.
Yeah.
I don't know if you like, and because we're not like in the same situation like in the UK, charities do get a lot of funding from the government. This is not Greece. Greece like does not give the bare minimum to the patient. So we do a lot of work that the government should be doing, and we do cover a lot of gaps that the government should be covering, and we do a lot of things for the patients that the government should be there to do, and they don't actually do it. Referral pathways, um, needs, basic needs for the patients after going to the doctor, after getting their treatments and their diagnosis. What do they do after that? Support, psychological support, self-management, training, self-literacy, whatever else. So here come the patient organizations, but we do a lot of volunteer work, and this adds up a lot of hard work, but you can imagine what I'm trying to say, I think, because I see you nodding, so I'm fairly certain that you do imagine what the situation is. Yeah.
Nadia, unfortunately, we don't get any government funding in the UK. We get no, we get no money from the government. They don't. No, we don't. They don't fund charities. We do. We get all our income.
So there's a
from
misconception, because I kind of thought that you did get some kind of amount from the government.
No.
Oh.
No, we've got different. We've got lots of different ways of raising money. So we do community and events fundraising. We get gifts. So we do legacy fundraising, so people leave gifts in their wills. We do. There are charitable trusts which are generally private, which we do lots of charitable trust applications, so we get a lot of income from that. And corporate donations as well. So we do a lot of work with pharmaceutical companies, and we get income because of that work. So yeah, no government our government you know anything about the British government, absolutely no government funding.
No. And I think Nadia, to your point, it is very, very difficult for particularly the smaller organisations that are reliant on volunteers to do a huge amount of the work, to actually work out where the priorities are. It is very much chicken and egg as to how do you raise that money when you haven't got anyone to raise it, and you need money to get the staff. And so it is, as you say, that vicious cycle. And I wonder whether, thinking about community fundraising, direct fundraising, which is obviously what we're talking about today, whether there are examples of particular ways of community fundraising from the community that is less labour intensive and is easier for a small organisation to implement, whether that be encouraging individuals to do a sponsored event that's an existing sponsored event, so the organisation doesn't have to run it, or whether it's something like, as you were talking about, Liz, with bequests or legacies. I appreciate then there's a degree of having to get some legal help with sort of the wording of those bequests. But I'd be really interested to hear, Sean and Liz, your sort of thoughts on, are there particular types of direct fundraising that are less labour intensive than others?
Yeah. So for direct fundraising, if you haven't got a large staff, it may be possible to recruit volunteers who will organise community direct fundraisers for you, who will run events for you, and give those fundraisers some training. So I'd consider having some kind of volunteer model and those volunteers if you can find them, will then help you organise local community fundraising. But I think the challenge with community fundraising is it's never going to give you big amounts of money. Where you get your bigger amounts of money from, and I think this is where your staff can, your fundraise, you know, I think Nadia, it's you, isn't it? We met last year. I would, if I was you, I would really focus on major donors and building relationships with people who have probably got AS or have some family experience with AS, and kind of look for those major donors. I think we've got a really well established community fundraising program, and we don't have to work too hard, but it can be really hard work for a small return. So looking at whether you can encourage people to leave you gifts in their wills, which would build income for the future. Look at major donor work, which, you know, has the potential to unlock bigger gifts. I don't know, in Greece, do you have charitable trusts that you can apply to as well? Do you have charitable trusts in Greece?
I'm not certain. I don't know if this like applies to Greece. Like, I think there could be. And to the comment you're saying about to reach out to people that have AS in Greece, like that are famous or well known, etc. You're talking about that, and I'm actually thinking in my head, which famous Greek person do I actually know that has AS? Nobody comes to mind. I mean, they are not vocal, and I'm actually trying like hard to think who has pointed. I know one that has lupus, one, but I'm trying to figure out who has actually said that I'm suffering from AS, that I do have AS. I'm not coming up, because do you know what happens? AS in Greece is not a very well known and outspoken disease, and RMDs in general, but AXPA and AS and like.
Do you have
are there cancer. They talk about cancer.
Any? Yeah, there might be European funds that you can. Because we're not in Europe anymore, I'm a bit out of touch with this. There might be European funds that you can go to, that you can apply for grant funding to, as well. Yeah. But then you need 10 with grant funding. You need to then kind of tend to have a particular proposal.
And I have to say that Katie had an idea, like by the closing of the previous year, 2022, to maybe apply for some funds from big companies that thinking that it's the end of the year, and how about applying for some funds, leftover funds that they could maybe spend on an NGO that is dealing with the RMDs in general and stuff. And Katie could say that I don't think we had any positive reaction and any positive feedback from anyone. Everyone was saying that we kind of want to spend that money on something more to this effect or to that effect. They are not willing, they're not easily willing to deal with RMDs or AXPA. They don't know AXPA. I mean, we need to raise awareness more. This is what we are trying to do now. We need to raise awareness.
Katie, so you had a question, or you want to comment?
I just have to add to Nadia's that we had negative answers from all major companies with the CSRs, because they are now trying and they are focusing only on cancer. So every money, every amount goes on cancer. So And when we apply to that companies like Coca-Cola or Nyarchos or etc., big philanthropic institutions, and we have with specific project like health school education, patients health school, which is very important for patients, not for a specific disease, but for health safety patients, health drug adherence, a yellow card, as we say, negative reporting diverse events. Nobody cares. Yeah. They say sorry, but we give too much money to cancer. Everybody's cancer, and then it's diabetes. This is the two main diabetes. This is the two main diseases that in Greece at least are all the make CSR programs from major companies looking for and focus.
And I think that is one of the big challenges that a lot of our members face, is the fact that Axbar isn't terribly well known. And one of the things we do have to look at is raising awareness of the condition. And I do think there's a place that community and direct fundraising has with that, in the fact that when you're asking people to participate in, for example, Walk Your AS Off, and they're getting sponsored for doing that, that's telling other people. You've got your advocates, your members, who are then spreading the word, in the same way that if you've got someone doing a bake sale, or you've got someone doing whatever type of direct fundraising that is, if they're talking to their friends and their networks and their colleagues about what they're working on, what they're getting sponsored for, whatever it is, then that is a way of raising awareness with very little cost to the organisation. And you know, I think there is a definitely a value that we can place on that.
So that's one of the reasons we really like Walk Your AS Off, because for us it really helps raise awareness and start a conversation about AS, as well as raising funds. So it does both really well, because we've got lots of people out walking in every, you know, some people are walking every day in bright orange t-shirts. And as I said earlier, we've had fundraisers tell us that they'll get stopped by multiple people because we've just got witty slogans on the back of our t-shirts, and people will stop them and say, what's this thing? I've never heard of it. What's the charity? And you know, those conversations, just those casual conversations, really help raise awareness as well.
Absolutely. And you know, going back to what Sean was saying earlier in terms of having those personal conversations with people that, you know, are living with Axbar, and if they, you know, if they feel valued, if they feel that they can rely on that particular organisation for support, they're likely to talk about it with other people, and that is a really, really good way to raise awareness. I'm conscious that we are at 2 minutes to 7. Well, my time anyway. Are there any last questions or comments before we close?
Hello together, Maxime from Germany. Sean, you mentioned the Spondylitis Plus magazine that you send off to your members on a quarterly basis. So in Germany, we've got a similar journal actually, and we're currently, as you mentioned, actually struggling a bit with the content and facing some challenges there because of personal problems, and so having a little bit too less personal. So maybe we can get in touch somewhere and I can reach out to you in a couple of days. I'll have a look. I just wanted to say thank you and announce it.
Absolutely. That's our information is around. Diane and I can work with you. So absolutely, let's talk.
Yeah,
definitely. If anybody wants, you know, as ASIF members, you all have access to any of the information that you know, the publications that we put out. So if there's something, obviously all we ask is that you say where you got it. But if there's an article in our newsletter or any of our brochures or anything like that, please just let us know, and we're happy to work with that.
Wonderful, thank you. And I think that's one of the things that as an organisation we love about the idea of these member webinars is bringing our members together, having these conversations and letting people get ideas from different organisations and building those connections. So that's really great to see that happening here today. So thank you. And if no one has any other questions, please do.
So I recently worked with a gentleman who picked us as the beneficiary from his wedding. All of the favors came to us. And I know there's not a lot of time, but the short version is he remembered us. Like, he was diagnosed a long time ago in Chicago, and he never forgot what he heard about SAA and how we were there for him when he was diagnosed. And then decades later, we got this wonderful gift from him through his wedding, because we never left, which, Joe, is sort of your point. We stayed, we hung on, and you know, sometimes they find you and you don't have to work as hard, you know. That's just want to add that.
Absolutely. And I think that's, you know, the idea of people giving a donation or inviting people to give a donation at their wedding or birthdays as well. That's another great opportunity for people to say, you know, instead of buying me, it's my 40th birthday, instead of buying me gifts, please make a donation to this charity. That's another thing that you can suggest to your members and a community they might wish to do. Okay. Well, in that case, if there aren't any other last questions or comments, no, we will. Oh, sorry, Annie, did you want to say something?
No, thank you. I thought the presentations were really great and really a lot of food for thought, a lot of ideas that are really practical and really, really well done. So thank you very much to the two speakers. It was great.
Thank you for saying that, Annie. And absolutely, I'll echo that. Thank you so much, Liz and Sean. That was really interesting. And if anyone has any further questions for them, I'm very happy to, if you want to send any questions to me or get directly in touch, I can always pass those questions on, and we can continue any of those discussions after the session. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a lovely rest of your day, evening, morning, wherever you are in the world. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.